Hello! This is day 14 and we're doing a very special presentation today. This is my friend, the ghost of Salvador Dali. We have been confined to quarantine together for Lord knows how long. He's getting a little lonely because he doesn't like being locked up like this, but nobody does. Nobody does. So, today we're going to present a painting. We're not going to do all the descriptions of it because it is a painting that took me 8 years to paint, and it's not possible to do it in one sitting. So today we're just going to do the introduction. This painting is called Him and the Wall of Decadence. It took me 8 years to paint. Can you imagine that? 8 years of your life dedicated to something all alone in your studio. Trying to figure out what you're doing. 8 years for one painting to come to its full termination. What I can tell you about this painting is that it formed itself. When I was living in Andalusia with Manuel, I had done all the other paintings that I've already shown to you. And I had one wall left in my house. And I still did not know, I still didn't know what would righteousness would be the last painting that I would do. I wanted to do a painting that would take me forever to paint, that would never finish, because I only had one wall left. And I thought to myself, it's really not important what you paint. The important thing is that you paint it well. Yes? So I started thinking about the universal God and the contact that he has with me, and I wanted a painting that would really teach me everything that I needed to know about the mission that I was on, and other things, yes. But like I said, my main thought was just that it wasn't important what you paint as long as you paint it well. And seeing as I enjoyed painting and I only had one wall left, I was going to do a painting that lasted forever. So, now you have to realize I'm living in this finca with Manic Manuel, and there's not a whole lot of stimulation other than the sunsets and the colors in the clouds and the smells in the grass. Other than that, there was no real stimulation to turn out a surrealist masterpiece. And so I had this idea of the tree in my head that I wanted to do. So this is actually where the painting starts, with this surrealistic tree. And I had a box of pictures that I had taken throughout my life's voyage, and that my sister had taken and sent to me. She was in China and in Ukraine, and I just had this big box of pictures because in that time we didn't even have digital cameras. You know? Digital cameras were not around yet. And so I was going to I closed myself off in my studio, and I was going around all the pictures in them, and I laid them out, the ones that stirred something inside of me. I laid them out around my drawing table, and I let them enter into my mind, into my consciousness, and I had them all out, and this lasted a couple of days, filtering through my paintings and looking at images, and not really working on anything quite yet. And then I took a piece of paper and I started to design the tree. And once the tree was designed, so then I said, well, I'm going to have to make this bigger. So I took a full-size paper, and I did the tree another time, and I liked it. And from the pictures that were there, basically, I didn't want to think about what I was going to do. I just wanted it to happen. I didn't want to control anything. So basically, I would just go into the room, I would look at all these pictures, and I would let my hand go, and would draw. And so once this big painting was full, if the picture leaded here, then I'd put another piece of paper here, and another piece of paper here, and another piece of paper here, and it was going all over the place, the thing, with different aspects, and I was just putting them all together. And then this went on for about, when I calculated it, this actually went on for about 100 hours. It was about a week and a half that I was working. It was about 100 hours put into just drawing freehand without understanding anything that I was drawing. And when it finally formed a square, now that I could finish off each thing and it formed a square, I said, aha, it's ready. But I didn't understand a single thing about this painting. Not a single thing. I looked at it and I thought it was some perverse sense of actually macabre indulgence, because there's a lot of macabre things going on in here. I mean, when you really look at it, you see that it's a painting about the life. But when you first see it, it's a little bit terrifying. A lot of people don't like to look at it too intently the first time that they see it. Yeah? And so anyway, once it was finished, I decided that I was going to do the transfer for it. And I did the transfer. That took another, I don't know, week or something, because first you have to take the sketch that you did, and you have to put it onto tracing paper. And then from the tracing paper, you have to pass it on with charcoal paper onto the canvas. That's the way I work anyway. So my design is always made before it goes onto the canvas. So once it was transferred onto the canvas, I still didn't understand a single thing about it. Not a single thing. I called it him because I was trying to contact with him. I was trying to make contact with the gods above. And that's why I gave freehand, so that the hand would just draw whatever they wanted me to draw. Yeah? Originally I thought that I had completely wasted a nice canvas, because this thing was never going to turn into anything that was going to be nice to look at or have any true value. Ha! All the contrary. All the contrary. As my relationship with Manuel was going really, really bad, and I was noticing myself not falling into a depression, but I noticed that every day after lunch I would be washing the dishes and I would be crying. So one day I said, what the hell is this? And I said, I'm trying to help you, and all that I'm managing to do is destroy myself, weaken myself, depress myself. So I broke the plate that I was washing, and I walked into the living room and I said, you know what? It's over. I'm out of here. And I started making moves to leave. It was just, I couldn't do it. So this painting went into storage in England for like a year and a half while I was living in Angola. I went and spent a year in Luanda in Angola to help my sister with a deaf child that she had adopted. And so this went on hold. It was in England. And then after Angola, we went back to Montreal, and I didn't have anything in Montreal. I came back from Africa with a bag of rocks from the bottom of the sea and a bunch of rags that I brought with me, because when you're there you don't want to wear nice clothes because you don't want to look like you have money. So I didn't, I didn't wear any clothes, any nice clothes. Almost all I had was rags, and I had $10, 10 Canadian dollars I had in my pocket. And so anyway, I went back to Montreal, and I was supposed to go to England and start a new life with my sister in England. But then her husband wasn't so keen on the idea, and I don't particularly like England, so I decided to stay in Montreal. I took 2 bartending jobs, and I wasn't very happy to be back to bartending, but there were better jobs than the ones I had before. There were more respectful places and daytime jobs, so it wasn't as much of a crazy lifetime as I had spent for the 25 years prior to moving to Andalusia. Yeah. And so finally I did meet my soulmate. I met my darling Lenny. He was the love of my life. This man loved me like no other man has ever loved me in my lifetime. Never mind man, person. He took me under his wing and he gave me a second opportunity at life. And our relationship lasted about 10 years. And each day as the days, they went by, we found our love intensifying just a little bit more. It really was a love story. We were soulmates. And he had never seen any of my work, but he had seen a couple of pictures of the old ones that I had done, and some scribbles that I had done, and he recognized that I had some artistic talent. So he made me an offer. He says, listen, Johnny, he says, you're working as a barmaid, your feet are crippled, you wake up in pain every day, you don't have to do that. He says, I'll take care of you. If you want to paint, just you go ahead and paint and I'll take care of you. And I was such a gift. For 8 years in Montreal, no, not for 8 years, let's say for 6 years. 8 years, it was 8 years in Montreal that I was painting this painting. For 8 years, he paid for me to have a studio. He paid all my paints, he paid all my brushes, paid all my needs, and every once in a while we would come into the studio and he would sit before this painting, and he would just sit in front of it and he would absorb it for about half an hour or so, and then he would give me a kiss and he would leave. He very seldom came to my studio. When he did, it was just to come and sit in front of the painting. It was like it was teaching it. He was learning things through it. So now I'm back to work doing the second coat of the painting. The first stain and the color scheme had already been done in Andalusia. And now came the second coat of the painting. And every entity that is in this painting has a name, it has a description. But we're not going to get into that today. Over the next couple of days we're going to go and get into in-depth discussions of some of the more interesting entities of this painting. Basically, it is the story of one who was born into darkness and who struggled to become one with the light. It is a struggle that anyone that wants to have personal enlightenment or to be closer to their cosmic guides, they actually have to do this step. They have to become closer to the light, but there's a whole process to it. By the second coat, I started realizing that there was a little bit of magic in this painting. I started realizing that as I was painting certain entities, that all of a sudden I would find myself in a situation where I was actually looking at something very similar to what that entity represented. And this painting started first when I realized that it had a mind of its own. It did start to scare me. Him and the Wall of Decadence, yeah? It did start to scare me. And so at times I would just put the brakes on, because, I mean, even though I had this beautiful man that was totally in love with me, that I was in love with, and we were creating a new chapter of our lives, I knew from instinct that the depths I would have to explore to conquer this peace were going to be phenomenal, and that I could not count on anybody's help to do it. I couldn't count on anybody's help, not you, not Lenny, not, and you have to realize I'm self-taught. I've never taken an art class in my life. I'm a self-taught painter. And so, of course, even in that aspect, I can't find out. The only thing that gave me insight into what was happening with this painting was my little bag of ruins. When I would get stumped on what I was trying to do, I would talk to the ruins, and the ruins would slowly try and guide me through the journey. And there was a lot of writing. I wrote a book about the whole journey, just about this painting. Then there's another book about the next one, but just about this painting I wrote a full-page book, the documentation of all the metamorphoses that it went through in my own mind and on the canvas. And the book has not been published yet, but it will be soon. We're going to need a little bit of funding for this Surrealism salvation strategy. Yes, but we're going to do one step at a time, and we're going to figure out how everything is going to happen. Right now we're just documenting the paintings and taking advantage of the time in quarantine with my friend here, Ghost of Salvador Dali. We could call you Ghost Dali. Ghost Dali. Dali Ghost. I like Dali Ghost. We'll call him Dali Ghost. Yeah. So the second coat, I started realizing that this painting was actually linked with my real life, and it started me a little bit. By the time I got to the third coat, incredible things started happening. Incredible things started happening. Episodes where I was trying to paint something, the brush was loaded with paint, and I was trying to paint and the paint wouldn't come off. Things where a face would suddenly appear and I'd say, no, that's not where you're supposed to be, you're not supposed to be there, and I would take it off and I would paint again and it would appear again. And I'd say, no, 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 that's not what I want, and I would take it off and I would paint it and it would appear again. When that happens, the third time it appears, I just leave it there and I figure it out later. I don't argue with it anymore. I know that I'm not in control, that it's doing what it needs to do, what it has to do, so that I can know what I have to know to get to where I want to get. Yes? By the third coat of this painting, the coat that you use just pigment and linseed oil, I was working on the third coat, and I'm telling you, there was some aspects that I didn't even want to paint them. I was terrified of what was going to happen if I paint them. Yeah, I mean, it's a very, very interesting story. This painting, this is another painting that has a soul. It definitely has a very real soul, and sometimes it can be a little terrifying. One of the things I did discover about it, which is very strange, is in the second and third coat, I came to the realizations that there were a lot of things that if I would look them up on the internet, like trying to find meanings of why did I put this there, what does that mean, what does this mean, and doing research on internet, because by then we had internet, and then I started realizing that what I had drawn, what I have painted in this masterpiece, is the visualization of Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy. Yeah? I had never read the book before, and it was only looking for answers that everything just seemed to be bringing me back and back and back, always to Dante Alighieri. And if you look very closely, in this tree, see this tree has feet on the bottom, and then it turns into an elbow, and then it turns into a hand. Yeah, each one has its own color. We'll get into this another time. But within that tree, there's the orange foot, and as the foot goes up, there's a face here. And this is one of those faces that came back 3 times. Yeah? And by the third time it came back, I just left it there. And when I was looking up why I put this statue in here, and what this statue meant, well, I found out that it was a statue of Dante's, and that it was a statue of two star-crossed lovers, and that this is the face of Dante. And I had never seen him, I had never read him, I don't even know if I'd even heard about him. Not a big reader, yeah. And so then I started wondering if maybe where it says him and the Wall of Decadence, if maybe him isn't a little bit to do with Dante, yeah. Because if you know Dante, he was almost like, without the pilgrimage and the masses following him, he wrote his book was declared a heretic in the libraries in Europe when it was written, because they said that it was anti-Christian, that it was against Christianity. But it wasn't against Christianity, it was the essence of Christianity without the church. Yeah, without that, not controversy that organized religion brings to a religion. Okay, so this is my masterpiece. It's going to be. We're going to do this one for a few days because there's just so much to tell you about it. Finally, in the end, I have. I have a very intimate relationship with this painting. Yeah, whenever something, I'm still learning from it. I'm the painter and I'm still learning from it. Every once in a while, I still discover things that I did not intentionally put in there. Yeah? So this is, it's been an honor and a pleasure to present to you this masterpiece of mine. And I'm going to sign off for now, but we will be back tomorrow with more of the same, and I'll try and have some of the stories that I wrote about certain aspects, yeah, at least the stories in my mind. I'm not going to read them to you, but I'll have the stories in my mind. So we're going to prepare a little bit on exactly how we want to present this thing to you, but like I said, it's basically one who is born in the darkness and to struggle to become one with the light. Yes? So, Cadaques, I hope you're not getting bored here. Yeah? I hope that you're enjoying your stay with me, and we're going to just keep on working on this project until I get it all done. Yeah? So, that's all for now. Goodbye.